The Real Estate Story with Adrian Butera.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Real Estate Story podcast, brought to you live from our Inner West studio here in my daughter's bedroom whilst we're still in stage 4 lockdown. I'm delighted to bring you a special episode today. I've got two very special guests from the Compton Green team, Gerard Hannan and Dee Gibson. We're going to talk all things real estate in the Inner West. Welcome Dee, welcome Gerard.
Hello.
Hello.
Dee, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, you're miles away, but it's great to have you in the virtual studio here today. And Gerard, thanks for joining us. What's really great is to see you guys, see you guys dressed up because you've been conducting inspections very busily over the last 7 odd days. And we'll talk more about that in a couple of moments. But before I talk about the inspections and how busy you have been as a result of this, private inspections now can happen. Gerard, give us a quick insight. How long have you been in real estate?
Oh, I missed that. Sorry, bad Wi-Fi here.
How long have you been in real estate?
Oh, nearly 10 years now.
Jeez, time flies when you're having fun.
Yep.
Primarily in the Inner West, you started as a property manager, but you've been selling now for the bulk of the time. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, great. Really good. Great to have you along today. Dee, now you've got a couple more years on Gerard, certainly not in age, but in experience. How long have you been in real estate?
Well, that's very nice of you, but yes, in age and experience, 23 years.
23 years. Has that been predominantly in the Inner West?
Absolutely content. Yep, entirely, 100%.
All in the Inner West, and that's great. So you'll be able to give our listeners today some really good insights into what's going on, particularly in the current environment. I hope that we can share some insights into what's happening and allow people to make some decisions given this COVID pandemic time, and I think that's really important at the moment. Gerard, can I start with you? We're going to hope that your Wi-Fi keeps pushing on really strong. Tell me, what have you found in the last 7 or 8 odd days since the lockdown? We've been released. We now can conduct private inspections. What have you found in that time, and what surprised you most?
Surprised around, we spoke about the pent-up interest around buyers, and surprised that it came to fruition. There's so much pent-up interest. I didn't expect to be inundated with the amount of buyers that we have. So it was a surprise, but a pleasant surprise nonetheless.
Why do you think that is? Why are there so many buyers looking around at the moment?
Oh, sorry?
Why do you think there are so many people looking at the moment?
I think not only the fact that they haven't been able to buy for the last 2 months, they just see it's time now. Their life their plans have been brought forward, whether it's 12 months, 2 years, whatever it is, whether they're going to buy their first property, they're looking at upsizing. I think the current climate has sort of brought their timeframes forward, and it's just collided with people wanting to buy anyway.
And what sort of buyers are you seeing? Now, obviously, we deal with first-time buyers, upgraders, people downgrading, investors. Give us a snapshot and maybe even talk about a property. But what sort of buyers are out there right now? Who are you dealing with?
Yeah, predominantly people upsizing and entering the market for the first time. There's no doubt there's some investors out there. I haven't met anybody who decided to downsize, but predominantly people upsizing and people buying their first property. A perfect example of that is we've got a townhouse available in Yarraville, and it's suited that first home buyer demographic. And since we've hit the market, we've had 183 inquiries, and it's just been nuts. And again,
183 inquiries. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Yes.
That's a lot of inquiries. What price point? Let's give our listeners a snapshot into, is it price driven? Is it location driven? Why has that property attracted so much interest?
Well, there's a few things. Location, it is on a main road. It's on Williamstown Road. So it's sort of reflected in the price there. It's $630 to $690. But to find a townhouse in Yarraville, it's 3 bedrooms with a lock-up garage in that price point is going to be difficult regardless. So the price point and the accommodation is what's attracting so many buyers.
So isn't that amazing? You've got buyers there prepared to compromise, to live on the main road, but get into the market at a good geographical location. You're in Yarraville, it's not too far. How far from the CBD is Yarraville?
Oh, it's only like 5 kilometres.
So really close.
It feels close, and it is. funnily enough, this one here, it's only 1.2 kilometres from, I think it's Spotswood Station's even closer. So it's a kilometre away in terms of walking distance from the train station.
So it's got a lot going for it. You've just got to compromise the fact that you're on a main road. So there's real estate is about compromising. I've said that many times to people. You look for the perfect property, but it's not always perfect. There's something that you've got to give into. Dee, what have you found? Let's go to you. What have you found in the last 7 days? The inquiry that you've taken. Give us a snapshot of what you've seen and what surprised you.
Okay, I'm surprised by just how many buyers there are that have been waiting and that seem to be carrying an incredibly positive attitude. They're actually really excited to be not only out and about looking again, but there's a real energy around the search for a property and the excitement finding that next home. So I've just come this morning from a Newport property around the $1 million mark. The 3 couples that came through are all local, but looking to grab a bit more land. So they've come from different directions, Altona North, Seahome and Seddon, and all just delightful people, but just with that real energy, excitement. And I think that's really pleasing to see. And
are these, they've been to the bank, they've got their finance in order, or are you unsure about that? Where does that sit? Are people subject to finance, or are they buying unconditional, do you think?
Look, I think there's going to be a real mixture there. I do. And those that do need to get their finance sorted will probably be instructed by the banks to get as much time as possible around that. I think we'll have to be accommodating, and we've learned to factor that into our equation with our vendors. But in most cases, it's coming good. So we've all learnt to be patient for many reasons this year. But I think that's another part of where we have learnt to be patient. And but for those that are finance ready to go, that just puts them in a better position, of course. So I think a mixture. I think what I'm not seeing at the moment is as many investors. I think that is going to be the smaller portion of our buyer activity at the moment. Happy to be proven wrong. They're very welcome. They're very welcome to join us.
Of course they are. And that would make, there's some sort of logic there, because if you're an investor at the moment, you get a tenant in, given the current tenant environment. And when I say tenant environment, the moratorium on evictions, and there's a degree of flexibility until March next year with tenancies. It's a bit risky. I get that, and I understand that. That's not to say they're not there, because you don't have a short-term view as an investor. In fact, you need to have that medium to long-term view as you look ahead with property values and return on investment. I totally get that. Do you, in fact, the question to either of you, have you seen examples during this time where people have spent time at home, like we are, like my studio in my daughter's bedroom? Have you seen examples where people have said, we just need more space. We're now going to work from home. I want to study. I want a yard. This is going to be where I spend a lot of my time. It needs to be bigger or better. Have you heard or seen examples of that?
I've got clients who have realised now that what's probably more important to them, they don't need to be close to the CBD now. Like I've got a few clients looking at moving to Queensland, to Torquay, because they want the size. They're now able to work from home. So they've realised that we can actually work from home. And I think it's spending time with the family. The land and home component is now more important versus being that, proximity to CBD. That their life circumstances at the moment dictates that, versus maybe a young couple who are wanting to be close to the CBD. What's more important to these guys now is a second living area, a home office, a bigger backyard. Let's move down to Torquay, be closer to family. So I think, it's definitely highlighted that you can live your life differently.
Yeah, I heard someone say to me recently that every property purchase now has a +1. And they say, basically, if you need 2 bedrooms, the +1 is another bedroom. They don't need that extra bedroom, they just want that extra space. If they don't need a backyard, the +1 could be, I want a backyard. It's more of an aspiration, bring it on now. And that conversation was really interesting, that everybody's looking for that +1 within their home right now. If they've only ever had 1 bathroom, they're saying, well, I want that +1, I want that extra bathroom. I don't need it, but I want it as that extra. Dee, have you seen examples of people now have a different requirement list as a result of COVID?
Look, I think that will be absolutely the thing, but I think that's still to unfold as we meet more buyers over the coming days and weeks, because it's only just begun. I'll be interested to know tonight when I take 3 separate parties through 14 Durkin Street in Newport. That's a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and it's got a couple of study areas within it, and it's just under 500 square metres of land. I think, definitely with questions I ask there, I think I'm going to find that some of those ingredients are exactly what's brought them to that property. But yeah, I would certainly be asking and finding out a little bit more about what the needs are for families moving forward.
So what would you both say to this? Bigger house or bigger land? Where's the desire?
That's a good question. Depends how many kids you've got.
Well, I mean, if kids are a part of the long-term future, if you've got the kids now, where does it fit? Bigger house or bigger land?
It's also, I feel like it's almost bigger house. Like they'll compromise in terms of the backyard space, as long as internally I'm dealing, and it also depends on the age of the children. I'm dealing with a few clients at the moment who are, some of their requirements isn't necessarily huge land size. It's more so I need that second living space because, hey, I love my kids, but, I need some alone time. So, whether it's going to be the kids' own space, their own bedrooms. So the couples that I've been speaking to, depending on the age of the children, it's accommodation versus land size.
How about you, Dee?
Look, I just think that's really specific. I think each family will be different with what they've worked out they need across this time. But I do think that COVID has given that clarity, and each family that's out there will know what they've been missing, what they're looking for now to sort some of those little issues and problems and make life, so much better. But that's what's exciting, and I think meeting those families for us is it's absolute joy to try and match up and tick extra boxes that they're looking for now. But yeah, I think that's very personal, whether it's extra house or extra land or maybe both.
So last week we recorded like a fraction under 100, 98 private inspections last week. Huge amount, and as Gerard, you talked about that pent-up tension that we saw in the build-up. Those inspections couldn't take place for 8 weeks. People had popped out of the market. People have jumped into the market. If you could click your fingers and bring another property onto the market tomorrow because of the multitude of buyers looking for a particular type of property, describe that property to me. What is it?
Double front, 4-bed, 2-bath, separate living areas, one at the front of the home, one at the back of the home.
That's an expensive house, though.
That's an expensive house for good reason, because it's so highly sought after. If I spoke to every single family that I've chatted to over the last couple of weeks, if I presented that to them, they'd take it in a heartbeat. So 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, separate living areas. If it had off-street parking or a garage, absolute bonus. So yeah, something along those lines.
How about you, Dee? What's your experience tell you?
Look, I'd have to agree with Gerard there. I think that probably is the key home locally in the inner west. And aside from that, it's the rural property, isn't it? We all know that that's become such an exciting opportunity for people, and so to be able to provide rural properties as well would be the way to help those that are making that tree change. So
you're going to start selling in the country, are you, Dees?
Look, it's not out of the question, is it?
Compton Green lifestyle, that's got a bit of a ring to it, that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's work on that idea. Let's see where that takes us. Well, that's really interesting to hear that description, and that 2 living areas or an escape area. Call it the escape room, the panic room, the room that you go to just to get away from the other people or person in the house, I think is really, really important. I know that I found myself, I ended up working on the bed last night, as I was just finishing off my work day. The dining room got taken up, the lounge room got taken up, the backyard was too chilly and doesn't work for us. So here I was in the bed. We don't have a study. We don't have a second living area. So that's where it ended up, and that worked for me. It's not going to work for everybody. Actually, it doesn't really work for me. I don't like it, but it is what it is, right? It's all I've got left. Gerard, let's talk about real estate for a second. You're an agent. What's changed for you? What's changed for you in this COVID time as a practicing agent? What's different?
Time management. You've just got to be ruthless with your time. and I think it's been highlighted over the last, week and a half, however long it's been. Normally we would do, say, for example, one open for inspection, and we'd get 16 groups for that open for inspection. But now that would be 4 hours of taking buyers through privately. So being ruthless with your time in regards to working, but also, pre-qualifying buyers as well. If you only got a certain amount of time slots available to bring buyers through, you can't just bring anybody through.
So how do you pre-qualify a buyer? What do they need to say to you to say, yeah, that's exactly what I need. You're qualified. Tick. Come on in.
Usually, Gerard, I'm bringing a big bag of cash, and if I like it, I'll leave the cash for you. And
how's that going for you?
Oh, mate, my Ferrari's out the front. It's more so asking them questions where their finance is at. A lot of people they've either got finance or they're in the process of getting finance. So whether it's where their finance is at, what they've missed out on, how long they've been looking, are they just? Lachlan, I was having a chat to Lachlan this morning, who works in our team, and he likes to ask them, are they looking at actively buying, or are they researching the market? Because again, we historically know that buyers will come to different properties just to see what's going on in the market, which is fantastic. But at this present point in time, taking those kind of buyers through properties, might not be appropriate. So it's just finding out a little bit more about the buyer, whereas previously it was open for inspection, let the world come in. Now it's working a lot closer with your buyers.
Yeah, great. Dee, what is 23 years of experience? How does that allow you to act differently? We're in COVID. No one's ever been here before. You could have 50 years experience. No one's ever experienced what's going on right now. How are you dealing with it? What's changed for you in real estate?
I think it's been a great time to give us a good push in the digital space, and it's made me embrace it. And I think, I'm as excited as anyone in our team about our online auctions. They've been amazing, and I look forward to doing more of them. And that is just something that's changed forever. And we've all just completely, I think, nailed it in terms of process within our business. And the other digital component is our online appraisals. I think everything we've done now has changed. Our Zoom meetings with everybody, it's taken us into a space we did not envisage, and we would never go back.
At the beginning there, stage one, our very first lockdown, we were meeting as a team 13 times a week, I think it was, until one of you tapped me on the shoulder and said, mate, that's enough. That's enough. It's so there's certainly a lot of changes. We agree. And Dee, I think I'm not going to be rude to you and say that you're not the most technological person, but you've embraced this, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've done a wonderful job. A great segue, though, into the online auctions. You say you love them. Why do you love them?
Because they work. They work for everybody, and we all want to be safe, and that has given us the distance, but has given us exactly the amount of competition, if not more than ever before, that we've seen. I just think people are very comfortable being in their own space and thinking clearly about bidding for a property. And we've had more registered bidders than ever before, and some incredible outcomes.
Talk about registered bidders. I mean, because some people would say, hang on, Adrian, don't you register bidders anyway? What's the difference between registered bidders pre-COVID and registered bidders now?
Well, look, anyone listening that's in real estate knows that in Victoria we don't register our bidders. In New South Wales you do need to in order to bid. It's not a requirement here in Victoria, but it is. It's a great qualifier for interest in a property. And so anyone now that wants to bid at one of our online auctions does need to go through a little bit of a process through the company we use called Anywhere Auctions, and it is pretty straightforward, and it just allows everything to take place really smoothly and professionally.
How about you, Gerard? You've done a few online auctions. I've been there with you by your side as we've knocked those out. What do you think about them?
I think it just adds another string to the bow that I wasn't against online auctions. I was just, I love the theatre of auction day. Just like you, I love being an auctioneer and meeting people, and it's an event. It's an event in itself. And so I wasn't pushing back against it, but I just missed the traditional auction day. But I'd say that the online platform that we use, it just provides that flexibility. That I've got two people looking at bidding on a property next Saturday, and one is in Queensland and one's in Sydney. So it does allow that flexibility that if you can't be there, cool, sit on your couch and you can bid online. Or if it's just too stressful for you, again, you can stay at home and bid via that platform. So I think as even when we go past, next year, the year after, whatever it is, and we go back to the typical auction day, the theatre of it all, I still think there's going to be a place for it for online auctions. So
hybrid auctions.
Yep.
Hybrid auctions, I think, is the dialogue that we'll adopt. That's how I feel it's going to be. It blows me away, and I've told this story a couple of times, certainly not here on the real estate story, but remember the Wednesday night before the lockdown. That night, we all stood in the boardroom because we're allowed to. We socially distance, but we're in the boardroom about to conduct the auction of a property in Oxford Street in Newport. And I was astounded that we had 18 registered bidders, 3 phone bidders, 21 people fought it out. Yes, it sold well above the indicated price. And whilst that's important, we had, out of the 21 bidders, 18 of them had registered on Anywhere Auctions. And that means 18 people had swiped their credit card for $1,500, meaning that they were going to participate, and if they were successful, that $1,500 would automatically debited from their credit card account, and the other remaining 17 wouldn't have been short $1. They would have got all that money back instantly. That has to be the pinnacle of qualification, doesn't it?
Absolutely. As you were saying before, in Victoria, you can just turn up and bid. You can just rock up and bid. Never have seen you before. You can just turn up and $1 million. Whereas something like Anywhere Auctions, you need to go through that process that you're a genuine, serious bidder. I was speaking to a client 2 nights ago, and I said, look, we've already got 3 people who have registered for your upcoming auction. And it's a perfect example. The buyers have put in their hand up. They've gone through this process, their license, credit card details, all those sorts of things there. That when I'm playing games, I'm here to buy your place. I'm here to buy it. So it's a great way to find out how many serious buyers you've got. And I think it's a no-brainer moving forward.
So guys, it's a great segue. And before we wrap up, I want to ask one other key question. What do you think's changed forever now in our real estate industry, whether it's your perspective as an estate agent or from the perspective of buyers and sellers forevermore? It's a big question, I know, but what do you believe is now changed forevermore as a result of this COVID-19?
I would jump in and say that nothing is guaranteed, and we won't take anything for granted ever again. And it's put everything under the microscope. So we now look really clearly at everything we do and make sure that it's a worthwhile exercise or step in any equation. And I believe we've all become more human. I think the care factor has been exemplified, and that's important in real estate because we do get misconceived. And I think that we hope that everyone knows that we have cared across this time, and we will continue to.
That's a very big answer of you there, Dee. Well done. I think you're absolutely...
A bit deep for 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's right. No, not at all. Because I think we have all become that bit more human. We've become that little bit more caring if we weren't already. And that's, I think it's nice to be said, because I think not many people have said it. Gerard, what do you reckon? What's changed forevermore? Real estate, you've done this long enough. You've stood at open homes. You've been part of big crowds at auctions. What's different now?
I think what people what they're going to buy. It's as simple as that. People now, you would get up in the morning, drive to your office, work 9 to 5, and then drive home and do it again and again and again and again. Now people have realised the flexibility that I can work from home. I can move down to Torquay, or I can move down to Geelong. I can stay at home 3 days a week and do the commute 2 days a week. So I think it does highlight that it's not necessarily the location. We all want to be close to the CBD. We all wanted all these things. But sometimes we've been forced to take a step back and go, well, it's maybe more so about lifestyle. So I'm no longer looking for a smaller home close to the city. My life dictates I can actually get a bigger home and move a little bit further out and work from home a couple of days a week. So I think it's going to change people's requirements in buying real estate. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was talking to one of our property managers, Gia, only yesterday, and she was talking to me about a one-bedder that's become available in Docklands, and that she worked out in Docklands and surrounding suburbs. There were in excess of 200 one-bedders available for rent, which just, to me, instantly says they've all moved out, moving to something different to suit lifestyles rather than be in a tiny little apartment. They have their place. I'm certainly saying they've got their place, and I hope they return to back to being popular, but it really is a good insight into what's going on right now. Dee and Gerard, I really appreciate you joining me on the real estate story. I think you've given us some great insights to what's happened during these pandemic times. I know you're both very busy, given that all inspections are private. Dee, I know you've got some this afternoon. You've got an appointment straight after this one, Gerard. Guys, thanks very much for joining the real estate story, and we'll see you all next week.
The Real Estate Story brought to you by Compton Green.